Squarebody is gone. It's kind of sad and exciting at the same time because we can start a new chapter. But last Thursday we settled on a price with the new buyer up in Wichita, Kansas. So I loaded it up on the trailer, met him halfway, and we looked it over and jumped in it. He drove it, I think, probably about 100 miles back to his house. So anyway, that happened. But I was shopping for something new right away. Actually, I started before the truck sold just to kind of get an idea of what might be the next project. And I considered 5-liter Mustangs, both in the Fox body configuration, which I love because, you know, high school. Also in the Coyote 5-liter in the new generation, I think 2011 and newer Mustangs. Also considered a Trailblazer SS, thought those are pretty neat. I guess you get the idea here. We were looking for something a little more late model. I want to go fast. Maybe we'll do that every other build. Choose us something sporty to build, and then maybe something classic back and forth. Sort of breaks the monotony so it doesn't feel like we're doing the same thing over and over again. I hope you guys are excited about that. So I also considered some F-bodies, 4th gen. I've had a 3rd gen, built it 20 years ago and did an LT1 swap. It's a pretty cool car. I don't think I have any pictures, but if I can find something, I'll go ahead and show them right here. They may have to be scanned in because it was 20 years ago. Then fast forward 10 years from then, and I had a 2001 a C5 Z06 Corvette, which has an LS6 engine. Did a light build on it, basically cam and exhaust and tune. Car made right at 400 horsepower to tires, which 10 years ago was halfway respectable. What I haven't had until now is a 4th gen F-body, and I think these things look awesome. This is a 1998 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. It's had a few things done to it. The wheels and tires are brand new, which are actually a pretty good factory replica, sort of. Looks like the brakes have been upgraded with drilled and slotted. It has subframe connectors already on it. It has lower control arm relocation brackets. Also, the rear end, the rear axle assembly has been painted with a chrome differential cover and has a red panhard bar. This is aftermarket, looks like it's a DOM steel. As well as basically a full exhaust system from headers all the way back to the Flowmaster, and then this quad tip situation that they've got going, which not the biggest fan, but it's fine. So money was already thrown at this car. Interior wise, this thing's, for these type of cars, I would say it's a 9. You don't see really much tearing or splitting on any of the leather or vinyl. The cushion is a little bit compressed, but no dash cracks. Everything's still in one piece. Rear seat, they look pretty good also. And it's a T-top car, which they're both in pretty good shape. The car is filthy, by the way. I thought I would go ahead and let you guys see it before anything was done to it. Which probably thing number one is getting rid of this absolutely ridiculous hot boy tachometer. So yeah, we'll get that handled right away. And guess what? It's already been LS swapped. Of course I'm kidding about the LS swap. 98 was actually the first year for the LS generation engine, the Gen 3, to be put into an F-body, which is Camaros and Firebirds. Now the LS1 started, or debuted, in the 97 Corvette. So these came along a year later, which is kind of common for GM. That's how they did it with the tune port engines and the LT engines back in the early 90s. So they followed suit when they did the LS. Now everything's progressed, and now they have LT based engines again, both LT1 and LT4 in the new stuff. This is a strut tower brace for those of you who don't already know. This helps make the car a little more rigid, which Camaros and Firebirds are unibody cars, so they have a front and rear subframe assembly, but nothing connects the two except the sheet metal floor pan. Not really the most rigid design. They use a torque arm that goes from the rear axle up to the transmission output, the snout back there, which kind of helps to move the torque, keep the torque inside the driveline. So nothing but sheet metal between the subframe assemblies, because this glass isn't helping much. It allows the cars to tweak and squeak and creak and plastic to break and crack, essentially. So I was excited to see that the strut tower brace was already here, the subframe connector is already here. We'll show you more of that in the next video. So someone cared about the structural rigidity of this car. But that engine had certainly been out. If we look, we can see a few telltale signs if you know what you're looking for. Now the casting number is one of the early Gen 3 castings. And there you can see that it has, well, probably at one point, a probably inexpensively coated header. But this is a dead giveaway. This engine has head studs with nuts ran down on them to hold the heads down. Now from the factory, these would have just been bolts. All you would have seen up here is a head bolt, similar to the ones here on this header. Also, you see the brackets used to have an accessory drive here, and that looks an awful lot like an alternator plug-in. The alternator is down here now, and it looks like someone used some kind of a aftermarket like harness or something that came with it, maybe from AutoZone. So we'll do some further investigating. Now you may wonder, if I saw all of this stuff whenever I bought it and had questions, why did I still buy it? Well, I'll tell you. The thing has 80,000 miles on it, and for a 22-year-old car, it's only like a little over 3,600 miles a year. The paint finish is pretty nice. The thing drove rock solid. I say rock solid. The transmission's in bad shape. No big deal. If you get it for the right price and you know what you're doing and what things cost to rebuild, you're still alright. And we're going to be fine. Because I would much rather know exactly what I've got going on inside this transmission because it's an automatic. So we'll get that pulled out right away and we'll get that rebuilt with a stall converter. There'll be one less thing to worry about. A common issue that this car suffers from is a bunch of blown speakers. Now this was GM's Monsoon stereo system, which was made by a company that I believe they own, Delco. And I think it was their way of getting away from paying Bose for their premium audio system. But you know, when you got people cranking it up with the mullets flying and the T-tops out, tend to blow a few speakers. So we'll get that taken care of right away. As a matter of fact, most of the stuff is already here, because I didn't even make it home with the car until I had already swung by, picked up, and ordered some of the things we're going to need, including an amplifier, this line converter to RCA, door speakers, B-pillar speakers, and a Bluetooth receiver. Now we're going about middle of the line, if you will, on the equipment. These are Focals. That's a Kenwood Exelon reference, which is kind of the top of the line as far as Kenwood goes. JL Audio sub is probably going to be here today, and so will the custom sub enclosure that fits in a perfect spot in the rear hatch of these cars. Now you might ask, why wouldn't you build your own? Well, the thing is, someone else has made one and carpeted it, custom fit, perfectly measured, with a quick connect for $90. I'm sorry, but that's an awful lot of work for me to have to do instead of just spending $90 and having it shipped for free. So we're going to go that route. Now, this transmission is going to be a huge ordeal, but we're going to tackle it. So I thought, if we're going to have to pull this transmission out anyway, which we are, it might be a good time to do some engine modifications because a lot of the work's already done. So, this is your pro tip, number 18 at this point. If you're gonna customize a fuel injected engine, that's factory fuel injected, you need to probably decide who you're gonna have tune it and talk to them first. So, before you make bad camshaft selections or any other valve train decisions, talk to the guy who you're going to expect make it work. So I reached out to my tuner and let him know what we bought and what our plans were, and he had a great idea because of some of the clues we saw under the hood. He said, hey, bring me the computer, let's plug into it and see what we got. So he did, and come to find out, it's had a professional tune, and it looks like the tune is for a pretty aggressive camshaft, which the car runs really hard. So the only issue I couldn't easily identify that it had a camshaft swap in it was the idle was about 1200 RPM, which tends to smooth out any rough, choppy idle big cam. But the performance definitely reflected that it had one in there, and it was nice that he confirmed it. So that's your pro tip of the video. This is the next project. We'll see you in the next video.